It is. It's Xerox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah.
Live streaming.
Somebody pays us. I know.
I don't see anything with AI.
Yeah, literally it started, I think at
Well,
9, I got
whatever.
canceled, but
You-
then at
you wanna
10
go?
o'clock, I've been solid.
Yeah, I don't see Diana yet.
Solid. And I had a half an hour break
Did
for this.
leave early, I know she did today.
Oh,
Maybe she couldn't even make it.
I know.
Oh, there it is.
Do you need to leave
Recording
one?
will include AI generated some meeting chatting.
Okay, do you need us to do yours earlier?
No, maybe you won't have to write it down. Somebody else can do it.
I've been struggling to meetings again. I would need to put his update before, if we could start with that, would be, thank you. I forgot to change that in the agenda.
Oh, you got another meeting, right?
Isn't
Oh,
it-
yeah, but it's on their agenda to change their meeting time after 5 requests from me.
Oh, at least it didn't take 10.
Okay.
All right. We're ready to start.
What-
But it's on YouTube as well.
Oh, it's live on YouTube. Okay.
And I'm logged in so that when we get to the report, I can pull it up and share screen.
On
What'd you
YouTube.
say? I gotta start on YouTube.
I don't do YouTube.
I gotta make sure that Diana hasn't sent it.
You know, you're not missing.
So are we started?
Yeah, we started. So I'll start off. I'm John Lindman. I'm from the Hidden Springs area. And been on the park board for longer than I can remember.
Which way do you want to go, John?
Let's go this way.
Megan Big John staff.
Kevin Bonington, City Council.
Chris Owens, Robin Wood, and I've been on the board for 4 years.
Vicky Handy, Willamette.
How long do you think?
I don't know.
15 years?
I don't know.
You could be 15.
It could be 15.
Don't ever let her leave though, so I don't want to do that.
Well, that's the bottom line.
I'm not equipped. Karen Kellogg, Robin Wood, I think I'm going into year 2. Safety update, second time around, not even 2 to go. Tara Winkin, staff.
Todd Olson, and I'm in Barrington Heights, and Mike.
Cool. All right, everybody got a copy of the agenda tonight?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we are
Move to
moving,
approve.
well, approve with moving 7 to 2.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
I'll second.
Moving 7 to 2.
He'll second anything there. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? No. Summary notes, do we have summary notes? Can't remember. Is it today? I haven't been on an email today. I suspect they're just fine.
I'm sorry.
I have no idea.
I think we also need to approve the meeting notes from the previous month too. Was that right? Or did we get those in?
Oh, we
No,
we
you
approved
did.
those.
Okay,
I think we approved those.
Yes.
So you sent them out today? Okay, I didn't see
I
them.
had her in meetings all
Yeah,
day.
it was late this afternoon.
Yeah.
Oh. They okay?
They look good to me.
Look good to have.
Move to approve.
I'll buy that. Okay.
I'll second that.
Are we gonna prove it? Second it? Okay, everybody can prove it? Yeah, let's approve it. Oh, okay, that's cool.
I can't vote.
Okay.
So, Kevin,
Hi, how are you?
Happy New Year.
You as well. I gave you a shout out at the council retreat for your
Mhm.
excellent report.
Oh, thank you.
Didn't get your update.
Oh, that's the.
So sorry.
Right.
I'm here.
Good to see you, but you need to leave. so.
Kevin.
Well, to that end, we had our council retreat on.
Let's, hang on, let's all get focused here so that we can all hear.
Okay, so yeah, Saturday, early morning, we started our council retreat and did that all day. She was with us and, yeah, we didn't get all the way through, what we wanted to. At the very end, we kind of brought up some ideas of pointing out where the priorities are gonna go. We're gonna have to meet again to actually do the priorities,
Mm.
which is funny because that's what it was all about. But we spent most of it reviewing what had happened,
Mhm.
reviewing reports, talking about successes and a couple of things we want to address in the coming year. Related to parks, I felt like the only priority we outlined was my little Westbridge Park pet project that I've been trying to get everyone on board with. That was discussed and
The rec center was the only one that came up with a
that one as well.
directive, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess exploring the rec center still, and I wasn't really clear on where we were
Yeah.
going with that.
I don't think it was
one,
clear
but-
direction yet, and for me, it was new. I've always used to like, the staff works on with the department goals and they give it to council and council takes it into consideration. John Williams had explained very articulate to me, I realized that this is actually council themselves setting their own goals and priorities. And not that ours aren't superseded with theirs, but I thought that was really interesting to think of it that way. And what I got out of we came up and presented together because we were both like, didn't know who was doing it, so it was a team effort. But it wasn't clear where they wanted to go with the community rec center. It wasn't a directive to go hire somebody to investigate it more. It was more so, we have momentum. The momentum had changed from like 70-30 with the first go around. This is more of, 45, 55 in there to be able to just see where this could still potentially go and thinking of a long-term plan. Not like just for the next year, but what are the options? And something that came out that I haven't even had a chance to talk to Kevin about too much is that, we were wanting to, in February, I'm going to set up a meeting with that group who was interested in looking at funding options. And we'll invite all of you as well to have a meeting with the Y as far as just of an exploratory of what the possibilities are and what they offer. That was one option that came up with the Y. And the reason being is that there's a couple different models that they have. It's just an exploratory. We did have a couple meetings with them. They're already focused on a project and they don't have capital to build. But what they do have is just some insight, and it'll be interesting to have some conversations so we can look at what the potentials are for potentially a long-term game. For example, they are working at a Ridgefield location that they are partnering with the city, where the city is building a community space and helping Sun with the rec center spot, but they're running that with the operations, and so you have to look at your cost recovery and funding with that. And so it's just another piece that came out of that we could at least explore and talk about as a continued option maybe for the future. So we weren't really clear on how it really was what direction council would want us to spend any resources or time on, but I thought getting that meeting set up in February so we can just continue that kind of brainstorming and see where we go.
I
Is that
anticipate
right?
yeah, I
Okay.
think we'll have really clear direction by the next time
Yeah.
this group meets.
So I have a question. That time around on this board, there was a different city council. And I went to them asking them to explore the idea of joining Lake Oswego was getting ready to build their beautiful new facility. And that was not seen as viable.
Lake Oswego was not interested, so
Right.
you know.
Well,
They weren't. There's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just wondering if there's still a way to work out some kind of special deal with them for Westland residents.
No, they're already set in their fee structure and
Yeah,
anybody,
join.
yeah, no, anybody can. It's just, yeah, as you consider, they're going to be over capacity already serving what they have with the size of the facility. So, yeah, and just from even a cost standing, that's really hard to ask a city to do.
Yeah.
But the Westland did approach Lake Oswego because I was there when that had occurred. And it just wasn't a viable option for their cost recovery.
Mhm.
So at least at this time, now that maybe in the future, if they're not having if they're having enrollment issues, they may consider that, right?
Well, they just finished pre-sale.
Uh-huh.
They're doing pre-sale.
They
They're
are.
not joining
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but no, that was definitely asked. So I think any of those things are not off the table. It's just
Okay.
kind of looking at what, our timing, I feel is pretty nice that we're not, I'm glad we weren't pushed to move forward because we get to watch how LO and how that reacts. We get to watch this YMCA and Litchfield and that partnership react, and we can really learn from how they're functioning.
Well, I'm glad to know that at least that question was asked back then, because I never got that feedback. All
Yeah.
I heard was, stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, and I don't know if that was public knowledge. I just happened to be in that role to know, but when you're looking at a budgetary, you have to look at what you can manage and control, and
Right.
having another city involved makes it tricky. It's not
Sure.
something the city would fully want to fund if they
Sure.
can't fill it. But,
Okay.
Mhm.
For that.
Yeah, but we are welcome to go. You're so welcome to go there.
Was there any other feedback or high priority discussions from city council that we should be aware of? I mean, even if it's not directly related to Parks Board, because one of the things we try to do is balance any advice we have with, of course, the other priorities.
Yeah, I mean, we still need to really clearly
Okay.
define where we're going with things. I think another thing that's gonna be kind of important this year is pedestrian safety improvements.
Mm.
That's been an issue where we've had this extremely long list that were identified, I think, 12 years ago, and maybe like 6 of the 120 have been worked through since then. That's not a very good pace. Maybe by the time I'm 200 years old, we'll have all of the crosswalks this city needs, but yeah, so that'll be one. I have to be fairly careful in saying this, but some discussions about how we might go about the Oppenlander situation. I don't know if any of you saw the press release, the lovely press release from our friends at the school district. Those discussions open for the first time, and that's positive in a way. But we're looking at how that might work. I think we're all aware of the fact that it doesn't really fit into the parks plan, but the public sentiment for really wanting us to do either some or all of Oppenlander is too strong for us to ignore. So
I would just make a comment that if, as the newspaper article indicated, that there's got to be another bond vote, that again, we take into account the improvements that have to be made to make it a viable park.
Oh, yes.
And then the ongoing extra maintenance burden for Parks and Rec, because that's a big part, and it's a great space, but it needs a lot of work.
yeah, I think the improvements and maintenance are one of our biggest concerns, and it's been talked about a lot.
Yeah, the bond that got passed was basically assuming that we were gonna get it for $120,000.
So the chunk of that.
3 point whatever million dollars was to fix
Bring it up
it
to,
and to run it.
yes.
Okay, as a part. So that's needed. $3+ million is just needed. And that's back a few years ago. So that'll be more
So that-
just to do that. And then if you're gonna buy the thing for $8 or $9 million, you're gonna be looking at a
A
pretty
different
hefty
situation.
bill
Yeah,
for a
Okay.
piece of land that,
so the number that keeps getting brought up is unfortunate.
What?
Yeah,
Which if they get their 6.5 that they say is their bottom line, and then we add the 3.5
at the 10.
at a minimum for,
And that'll
that's
be more than.
probably a realistic figure. And we'll see what public sentiment thinks
that,
about
I
that.
think that's a little bit different question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see how this gets over the coming months.
Well, in preparation for tonight's discussion on our 2025 plan for Parks Board, I went through the master plan again, and our inventory of parks is really robust. I mean, some still need improvements, but the actual land for parks is, of all resources, is the one area that the consultants identified as being pretty darn robust. Where, we still have some real deficits. And so, $10 million is a lot. I don't know how a bond would go. But if I look at it through the lens of the master plan, based on the analysis by the consultants, it doesn't address the deficit that we have. I think it's a really nice to have. Wouldn't it be nice to have this? Wouldn't it be great to keep it?
I have a lot of things.
But I don't think it addresses the deficits that we still have in our community, especially when it comes to parks and recreation.
Mhm.
So that's just me. I'm not talking for the Parks Board. just as a member to make that.
Well, as the Parks Board, you know, when we put that on the bond, we talked about that on the
Yeah.
Parks Board, and that's what we said. And the feeling, at least most of the people around that time, was sort of like,
Yeah.
we really don't need that as a park.
Yeah,
If we look at what we have in the city in terms of parks, because we have a lot of parks, just taking care of them is an issue. So that the last thing you want to do is add something as big as Oppenlander with everything that needs to be done. Whatever the cost of that will be, I think, more than we think. But part of the cost needs to be hiring people for Parks Board to take care of that park.
or park.
I mean,
staff.
park
Yeah,
staff.
I'm okay with the Parks Board part. That's.
Yeah.
We can get out there.
So that I think that, you know, I mean, if I owned that land, I would subdivide it and let them build houses. Because that's gonna get the most money for the school district.
Well, I think it would have probably been better for everyone if they had just kept it. It's athletic fields that seem to be a big
Yes.
like deficit around both Westland and Wilsonville. That's
Yep.
kind of not necessarily our thing. So
Yeah,
I
the
want to
school
do with
district
them.
keeps it for there.
So
Okay,
it's either we buy it from them, they keep it, or it obviously becomes houses.
all right. Any other feedback or key points from the city council?
Only that report and the group itself are fantastic, probably the
Yeah,
best
really
example
came
of
out.
any.
I'm sorry, I missed that part. I didn't get on till the second half.
No, it was no worries.
So good.
It was you, it was.
Thank you. I know, I really, I thought the rest of the meeting was fascinating, and thank you for always playing along, Kevin.
How much did you watch?
Oh my God, I watched probably 2/3 of it.
Oh my
But I was
God.
doing other stuff. I was cooking and you guys were in my kitchen, but, so I'm very sorry that I missed the park presentation.
Well, the part of it that I hope you get to hear is that a lot of other CAGs are not, people are not joining. And the part that I told the group is that I feel like you need a strong, if we don't have a decision to make, it's my job to come and educate and show what our department's doing so that when a decision comes to us, you are all prepared and understand what we're working with. And so I don't know if you guys have just been strong all the way through, and we had, I think, 6 people apply. So there's a desire to be here with everybody. And so that's thanks to you all. I mean, that's really important. And so anything.
100% at the table tonight.
So,
Who's the club?
so to me, that's huge. We did ask the question about how to connect with council and when should we be, engaging. And that was definitely, they appreciated that. I was thinking, we don't ever go and present to council. And I was thinking during Parks and Recreation Month, it might be great to just give a 5 to 10 minute presentation on kind of what we're up to and what you guys are doing and who you are. So they were really thankful for all that you did and thankful for all the time you gave to the Community Rec Center project. So that was
When it's Parks and Rec month. And you're not.
live.
Live.
One other, and that was at the end, which is why I'm just now remembering. And that was revenue source.
Oh, that was huge.
There, I thought I was pretty creative.
You actually were.
But I would like to see support in raising any fees in this department that need to be raised, which is probably all of them.
So just looking at strategies and how that works, I think, looking across the city as a whole, in areas of not trying to price gouge, but like how to right fit what we're offering versus what other cities are paying. Because we do a lot for free too, in some cases. And so when you start looking at costs going up, how do you right fit it?
I would rather.
Like a
see-
parallel,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd like to see us target like one-time cost of doing business type fees as opposed to ongoing doing business or personal individual type stuff. But
Yeah.
overall, most of our fees for everything in the city are way too low.
To be sustainable over time.
Right.
Now.
Okay. It's really unfortunate that you can't stay with us for the whole meeting
I will.
because we're doing our 2025 plan. And I think it's a great experience for people outside of our group to see the process that we go through to create this, because we'll be looking at priorities, we'll be creating a year at a glance plan. That, literally every single month, activity, output. And this year we have where we're gonna be meeting. So it's a process I think you'd enjoy.
I'm always come back and watch. I love that it's on YouTube now. But I would
Right.
suggest maybe having some time to look at the little West Bridge pet project park and feasibility. That would be really awesome.
Is it,
to
okay,
do that.
got it. All right, well, thank you so much for representing us at City Council and representing City Council for us. Always good. Do you want to go ahead with the department and project update, or do you want to go into the plan first?
I can do either, or I can be really quick, or I can just be the filler at the end. I'll let you decide.
Why don't you get us in the mood
No,
with
I like to talk on the
department and
floor. I'll be
project
quick.
update?
Okay. So a couple things that are going on right now is, your rec center I mentioned, I'm on the wrong date of giving you an update, so now I'm back. Historic City Hall is almost complete. I'm spending a lot of my time there right now, getting some things finished up with the contractor and another team on that. Great. There's got some things. The tree code, just so you know, I finally was able to have my first meeting with the city attorney as well as our contractor arborist and myself to look at the technical issues with our code to make it potentially more friendlier to the community and more easier for us to apply. So that is a huge win. It's been a huge stress for me since day one. So we just had a meeting on that today. So start looking at that. Be more coming to you in the future on that. Marius Young, ORP, Oregon Parks and Recreation, they just sent me the agreement for the lease agreement, and I'm having that reviewed with the attorney as well as John, and potentially going to council and to you all, because there's some concerns I have with it as far as, not that we don't want to have it, but we take all of the liability and all the resources for it. And so looking at some of those just to make sure we present what may be fair for us to manage that property. 25 years.
Now, is that a change from the one that we had before?
There's some changes, but no, most of it is that, but there's a few more additional things they have in there. Yeah. So that'll come to you in the future, but I just got it over the holidays and we're just having an attorney review it. So I will be bringing that to you. I feel like I should not be signing that 25-year lease. I don't know. I hope to be retired by then. Bringing it to you, right?
Almost won't be here.
The other thing is we had a great meeting with our staff. I've been talking about a maintenance manual for a while with you all now. We've had a group meeting with the staff. They've been giving edits, and hopefully this next meeting, I'll be able to share that with you just so you can review what we're looking at. And I did, after talking to everybody, it will be a little bit aspirational versus being exactly what we're doing. And they wanted that too. So I'm excited about it. Also, maintenance manual. So we have a standard of how we maintain our anticipated goals. We also had 75 people apply for our maintenance 1 position. And when you get those, about over half of them were qualified. And we just had interviews with 12. That was really exciting. So we'll be having second round interviews with our whole staff, all Parks and Recreation, to interview because this person's coming to our family. So yep, we'll be interviewing 4 next week to fill that position that's been empty since August. Really exciting. Budget. I am focusing desperately on budget right now, looking at where we're at with Go Bond dollars from what Ken had left. I honestly have not done anything with that this year and got to get that plan together. So it's been in my head, but working on our next biennium. So we'll have updates on that coming soon. For sustainability, we have 3 electric leaf blowers that are going to be in our, it's exciting. We're starting that. We're going to be using them in specific areas and showing the crew how it can be used and when, but we still have our other tools too. The other one is I will be presenting maybe in another month or 2 on city data. We've got them signed on where we're able to look at 15 parks. Tara was great to encourage me from 5 to 15 to look at our visitorship within our parks. So we could just see who's the frequency of people coming in, which areas they're coming from. We can even see if people are coming from across the world.
How does it do that?
It's through apps on your phone, not your cell phone number. It's quite amazing. We can see hotspots within our parks. We can look at, we can just put in actually all of our event schedule and we can see how many people are coming to a park for those events and where they're coming from.
If we have that.
No, like, so all of your apps are collecting data. And there's companies around that use
Grabbing
that,
it,
grab
yeah.
that. So it's not like saying Megan Big John is in the park. It's not that. It's all protected, but that's in general information. And so they do ground truthing and vetting on that information. What it does is not only for us for sponsorship, so we know when we actually ask for money from somebody, we can say we get this amount of people coming in, but also you get to see frequencies of park use. I'm thinking of
That's
Cedar
incredible
Oak.
data.
Cedar Oak, it's essentially, it's a boat, like how many regional people are coming there? Are the 2 bathrooms there sufficient?
Mhm.
So I can go for Marine Board grants, but have that information to be able to share. Burner Boat Launch, same exact thing. Willamette Park, how many people are coming there? Mary is Young, we don't own it. We got it because we wanted to enhance for West Linn. Is it regionally known now?
Yeah.
So those are really good things to have. So I'm excited to show you. We just had a meeting with them today to finalize and we'll be getting them the data. And maybe in February, whenever it falls in, we'll show you what that looks like. It's really exciting. And we get all of last year's data too.
Most likely.
That's great.
Really?
Because this data is just out there being collected all over the place, right? And again, it's by cell phone use. So like a family of 4, if you have 2 kids, they don't have a cell phone. There's, there's a little bit of, but there's, and then if we had ability to send them photos or like if we had cameras or any trail counters, they can ground truth it even more. It's really neat. So it's still a bit of a, it's an average, but we don't have anything like that. So I'm thinking for any September grants we're going for.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just it's endless of what we can use it for. And for maintenance, you can see when certain splash pads are being optimized more, so you can change your routes. You can see what frequencies are for your mowing, for checking your restrooms. We even found an encroachment area on the map that was like, why is there a whole bunch of people? That's not a park. Somebody is doing something in the park that they're not supposed to be doing, so it was kind of neat to see that's not what you're looking for normally. But anyway, it's just another piece of us trying to get to how do I find some additional funding? How do I share that story? And it doesn't cost us that much. So Wilsonville just started with it last year and we jumped right on board.
Is it live data?
It is live data, yeah. And I'll find more of the particulars. We're gonna get a dashboard and be able to share that and show some of that information. I don't know if it'll go live on our website, but we're gonna live in it for a little bit to see what it shows us and then be able to, but it's just the data. Even if we only did it for 2 years, I mean, say we only did, we will have so much information about our uses and frequencies for so many different things that. Yeah, we will when we get it up and running. Yeah, I'll be able to show you. Mhm.
Yeah.
So it'll be a topic that I bring up at some point as one of my updates. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Good.
Yeah. That is what I have. I've been just a lot going on, still studying the foundation with our department with Tara and Jen. And even with maintenance, we're working on assigning people areas of focus. So we have eyes on specific parks to be able to keep an eye on them, and we'll be transitioning that over the summer so that everybody can have some autonomy in spaces. And so that's a lot of legwork that they've never operated that way. So it's a way to increase the participation of the staff, get some autonomy and care for those spaces, and you'll get to see your frequent people in those parks on a regular basis as you go through, which is honestly feeds our soul because you get compliments, you get people tell you what's going on. Right now, it's kind of flyby with who's in there. So it'll take a couple years to fully transition, but we're making that move so we can get a better eye on what's going on and get a better list of our deferred maintenance stuff. So
Ownership.
it's important, right? I think it really is. It increases your care and it also understand you get those relationships with the community. So we're going to start with just mornings to check on the restrooms and the splash pads and kind of gather the list of work to do and then start building that out as we go through. To me, I have to have their buy-in. If they're not interested, it's not going to work. But they are interested and we got to do it at a pace that they feel like they can be successful. So that's what we're up to.
Well, you're doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Really
really, it's
amazing.
definitely a huge we.
But I think I call them the kids because they're all younger than me, but I feel like when you do encounter any of the park staff that, somebody gives them a, hey, thanks, or I saw this, they're like, oh yeah. I mean, I feel like they care that somebody's paying attention to them instead of they're just a worker, with their blower and
Yeah.
I think they're very engaged, the ones I run into.
It's you don't always hear that we get the complaints, right? And if you're always moving from a park, people don't get to know you all the time. And so I think there's some really good things that'll come out of this. And it's taken a year to kind of float the idea, and we're now going to start implementing it.
Yeah, and then they'll get the feeling of, oh, those are my parks that I take care of, you know?
It's huge pride.
Yeah, that'd be a big deal.
Yeah.
Regarding electric leaf blower, is it known in the community how you're transitioning to electric? I mean, like that's such a positive thing.
It just happened recently. When I presented with, I didn't present, gave an update to the chair of SAB.
Oh.
I told them that this is what we were planning on doing. And again, it's another one where you have to get buy-in, right? I could buy them all the equipment, but if they don't understand how and why we need to use it. And it's expensive. We don't have it in our budget. We just did it because it's what we needed to do.
Right.
So we got 2 leaf, and actually even our building maintenance person also bought, that's actually 4 electric leaf blowers. And so what we're doing is stationing them at our high use parks so that that's where where we have a lot of people coming through, like Marietta Stone will probably, because of the length of the trails, probably have to still use gas for the time being. But if you have it with you around the shelter and whatnot, you could use the electric during the summertime or in the wintertime if there's not a lot. So I've coached them in the fact that you may not understand how to buy into it just yet, but try it and see how we can use it. And then we also still get to kind of safeguard the tools that we need to get through the winter until technology can get there and we can afford it. Each one is about $1,500. So when you have to buy the batteries and everything, do you need something real quick?
You guys know you need to do your chair and vice chair reelection like now, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Kevin.
That wasn't on this agenda, it wasn't on their agenda, it's easy to forget, so.
Well, they have to agree.
I was like, I didn't even realize.
Make
We're gonna do that right after this. So I have it just happened. So I'm hoping to get together with SAB because one of the goals from council was to continue some of our green initiatives, like changing LED lights and that type of thing. And then to me, that goes along with sustainability as one of my goals is our integrated pest management for this year. So hopefully, but yes, I haven't shouted it through the roof yet, but
And to that, how do we get the community to know these things? That was a huge thing that Kevin was talking about at that work session that they did on Saturday. I mean, he's like, let's do everything on Facebook and and it sounds like, or at least he is wanting to champion. How do we get more people to understand what the heck's going on? You know, because we're all real fast to complain and why don't they do this? Well, then get involved, but I think there's an abyss on how do you get people interested or to care or to want to read the newsletter or the owl or whatever. So I think he's pretty into that.
And the reason why I'm not going so far is I don't want people to think that we've transitioned everything and that we're going, oh, well, you said you've got that, but now are you?
It'd be really expensive.
So we're just not prepared for it yet. We don't have enough,
The guys that do the work will love the electric once they start using it.
Well, and it has its purpose. There's a lot of ergonomics that are not set yet right. I'll be honest with you, they're just not. But they will, once they start and technology starts to change, it'll get better. But right now, ergonomically, it's not the best.
Yeah, I think.
No, because I mean, the bottom line is that your batteries run out quicker than you think they're gonna.
Well, I'm talking about holding the wand part of it, the way that fits and the weight of it on the back of you. It's definitely, it's a whole different game. And
Is it?
so, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so that is one thing I've pushed even at LO. You got to be really cognizant of it. If we're hurting our staff and the weight is too heavy, is it really, we got to think of all things. So, but they're going to love it when you're not worried that somebody's going to stare at you as you're blowing in the middle of summer. Yeah, they do yell at you. So that is going to be,
I mean, the difference in noise is phenomenal.
I'll be honest, I'm like,
Yeah.
Really?
I guess I
love
was
it.
talking about being transparent at some point with communities up at sustainability efforts, because you're really doing so much.
well, and that's why I have a lot of ideas and plans that we're working on and trying to get a few more of them implemented. And that's where I would like to have, some connection with SAB so they know what we are doing. So.
And what we can do to support you in that.
Well,
Great.
I would like us to maybe target around June-ish, to talk with Westland Tidings and to do a very structured, here are the things that are happening, and have it be from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board and staff and talk about collaborative efforts and engagement and then all of these improvements, I think we should make that, kind of a target.
Parks and Rec month.
July is hard there.
If you did it in June, then it will pop up in July.
That's right.
We can do it.
So how heavy are the batteries? They're pretty heavy.
They can be pretty heavy, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't have the data off the top of my head. I used to have my spiel down, but sometimes they're over 27 pounds each one. Not the battery, the pack, the whole
The pack.
pack.
Mhm.
And so depending if you're just doing a quick blow around like a building, that's okay. But if you're doing large trails and whatnot and you're carrying it for hours, it's fatigue. And then some of the arms, the ones that we have gotten like a steel are attached. So like if you have to pick something up, it's there, but a lot of them also have an umbilical cord, so you can't carry something. So if you have to start and stop, you're dragging something along with you.
Mhm.
So we found a brand that the crew all demoed it and really liked it. And LO has started to transition to those. They started with steel and went to Greenworks too. So we're getting there and technology is getting better too. So yeah, but again, the sound it is better for everybody all the way
Oh,
around.
the sound is phenomenal. I mean, I've been electric for about 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah,
And the difference between, having a gas blower and
yeah.
an electric blower is phenomenal.
Huge.
It's actually
So-
phenomenal.
And
And
then
we-
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, any other update?
One last one. I don't want you to think the Mediterranean oak borer has disappeared by any means. It's still we don't fully know if we have it at Marius Young or not.
Mhm.
There's a Mediterranean oak borer. I can explain to you later after. But it's not that it's just dormant. It's just it's sitting there for a moment. They took a branch to do some potential incubation to see what was in there. We haven't got those results yet.
I saw that they cut some stuff. off.
Yeah, and then what we've done is on the backside, it hasn't been released. We've got a website update, we've got flyers that'll go out, and I'm just waiting to kind of put that out there just so we can educate on it. I just haven't had a chance, to be honest with you. It's all created, but I got to edit and get it posted. So there'll be more to come on that in the future, and I'm also asking for that to be of help in our budget because we can't cover that overall. So,
Right.
okay. Thanks. Sorry that took longer than I thought.
No, that's so many good things happening. How about our wonderful events and recreation?
Pretty short and sweet too, because we have a big holiday in there. So yeah, we had our holiday parade, our nighttime parade.
Which was great.
Which was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was.
Yeah, it was
It
awesome.
was so good, yeah. We had about 30 entries. So yeah, it was fantastic. It was short and sweet.
Great job.
Everybody was safe. So it was all, yeah. And we're still in communications. We did a post meeting with TV and streets and everybody involved too. So we're just getting better at that communication and working together with them so we can stay.
Nice.
It'll be at nighttime again next year, or this year.
Any entries last year, do you remember?
Probably 20.
We had to cap it this year. We couldn't take anymore because the road is only so long.
And it
Uh-huh.
was probably just a long enough parade.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
but
not the
Oh.
parade of roses and it's a bunch of little kids
Yeah.
and I felt it was just the right distance and it kind of had the right things.
The funny part though, when you think about it, so we started setting up at 4.
Mhm.
It was 15, and of course, months of planning, it was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was just right.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
right. It literally was just right, but it was like, oh, okay, that was all
Yeah, that
the
was
time.
No, I thought it was perfect.
It was.
It was great.
So, yeah, this was last weekend? Yeah, sorry. Every day is like.
It's a blur right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, yeah, New Year's last week. I don't know. So we moved the polar plunge, not on New Year's Day, so it was on Saturday, this last Saturday. Bring down rain. We're like, not sure if anyone's gonna show up, but we've got the fire pit. Yeah, we had 153
No.
registered. Easy. I don't think they all showed up, but we did have 30-day of registrations too, so. So it was just fantastic. People were there. We have some good vendors, fire pits, hot cocoa, coffee.
It's like so much.
PDF farm up there. Yeah, so it was wonderful.
It's on the front page of
It's
the
on the front
newspaper
page,
today.
yeah.
Oh,
And a couple staff members in there too.
That's one I just have never gone to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You won't see me there.
Almost 30 years.
Go watch.
Yeah.
Actually, it was just super rainy and so people didn't linger too long, but it was
Yeah.
still very well. attended.
That's awesome.
And we, and I can't remember if March's Diamonds reached out to us or we reached out to them.
Was it Special Olympics?
Sorry, not March 10th, yeah, so we're gonna meet with them, pretty soon, just to see if we can maybe partner with them next year, or how that might work.
Cause they have their event this weekend, right?
They have them all
Yeah,
over.
all over.
Yeah.
They do them all over.
Portland,
Yeah,
and have some
yeah.
local ones, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so
So-
that would be kind of cool too.
Well, it'd help our official, I mean, like, again, if they could take some of that extra, it helps us allow not to have to take on so much with it,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
also to get a bigger draw.
Yeah, because they're publicized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the water's 49 degrees, so everyone's thankful, they're like, oh, it's a lot warmer than last year. I'm sure it was gross,
No,
yeah.
thank you.
So that was pretty fantastic. We've got picnic shelter rentals are gonna open on February 1st. So we're getting
Right.
ready for that. We're already starting summer. We're just in the planning process again. Happy New Year.
You're already working on summer programming. We
Yeah.
talk about that. Like that is already happening now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thinking about, yeah, the upcoming stuff, so, yeah.
Right.
Well, Tara, great job. You've been doing just so good. I looked at that
Great
thing
staff,
and see what's
yeah.
going on. I think, wow.
I know, yeah.
You've been smashing it.
Been busy.
Well, and to give them kudos to just, we're doing on the park side, the rec side has been doing a lot of streamlining, identifying roles. We just were talking today about bringing the ACC more connected with our programming together. You know, we're partnering with the library that they're doing some free classes that are startup classes that lead to our classes that are, you know, full classes or free stuff. So there's a lot going on, and the staff has been great.
Yeah.
They're great.
I cannot get over how much the department is doing.
Oh. Thank you. Oh, I think I kept all of them. Here's the second one. Sorry.
There are two handouts.
Two of them?
Yep, there's your second one.
3.0 and 4.0.
Yeah. 2024.
So the next thing is our plan. We made a request on the minutes to come prepared, taking a look at last year's plan, if there's any changes. The two big pieces that we need to take a look at are, you know, this was our 2024 analysis. And we really want to identify our analysis for 2025. So
Diana has to leave at 6:15.
okay.
You want to do your vote first?
Oh,
Head out?
yes.
Okay. Sorry, but I just want to make sure before she. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I forgot you had to leave.
So do we want to continue having our co-chair model?
I don't get a vote.
I mean, things like that's a good, knowing models from before, I think it's great to sort of spread that out.
I like the co-chair model too.
Fine with me.
I think that's good. And that also,
Need to vote on that, that's fine.
I, co-chair?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there somebody who wants to take over chair responsibilities? First off,
Or are you both wanting to continue?
That's the
Or
real
do you
question.
want- Do you need a
The
break?
question is, can we?
Can we?
well, if there's a single chair, no. If it's co-chair, is a little bit more flexible, is a little more gray.
Because in my mind, along those lines, you could have been chair and vice chair, and now you're just swapping.
Right.
Yeah.
So as being co-chairs, theoretically, you could say, well, it's the same, and you
If-
could do that for 2 years.
If
The
you
way I-
would like that.
Well, I like what I'm doing because I just go, as long as Vicky's really big, I'm supposed to say this, but as long as Vicky's in charge, I'm cool. But I've run meetings before, so it's not a problem.
Well,
I
you,
do have a question though.
Yeah.
Sorry, President, aside, but I haven't received any indication as to whether I'm on the board this year.
oh, yeah, same here.
You are until they tell us who's
Okay, so-
backfilling, because I got an email asking and then I don't know when it goes to council to get
Okay,
moved forward. So you're still on, as far as
Okay.
I know, but it has been brought to
That-
my attention that
it-
there was applicants.
yeah, it didn't occur to me until driving here and saying, wait a minute, I should have heard something by now.
Yeah,
think.
I think the
I think
holidays.
when the-
made it more. Yeah, no, yeah.
All right,
Thank you for that question.
So, chair and co-chair, it sounds like John's feeling comfortable continuing. I do too. If the group wants that, you know, John can be chair, I can be vice chair, and it doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't
What
matter to
you
me.
call us.
We said co-chairs, that sounds the easiest.
Yeah, I like that, but, okay.
So I think we have to be formal, so I'll make the motion to have you two continue to be the co-chair.
Second.
There we
And-
go.
Favor say aye.
And all in favor?
Right?
Okay. There we go.
Thank you for doing that.
It's always a little uncomfortable. Anyway,
We're clamoring for the job, Vicky. We all really want it.
Knives are coming out.
Yeah. Wow.
and if anybody does want it, I'm more than happy to support you in doing that. It's can be fun. So what we did with our quote analysis, we a couple of years ago, we started with what are our priorities, and we started with what were the prioritized needs coming out of the community master plan. And so you see we have the priority needs listed, the source, in other words, where we came up with that. We really tried hard not to put in personal pet projects. You know, so we held ourselves accountable. What source led us to identifying this as a priority? What's the current investment or plan? What's the progress on the plan and forward action needed? And I need to step back for just a second. How many of you had a chance to look at the 2024 plan before coming tonight? Awesome. Okay, so at least half the board had a chance to look at that. What I'd like to do, I have this up, and I've already started doing kind of the edits for 2025, but I wanted us to go through here. I'm not going to be reading it to you, but I want us to just kind of walk through it a little bit and update this. And again, some of these, there may not be a forward action, but it still stays as a prioritized need. For example, the first one is provide indoor all-season recreation center. And we know the source of that. And at this point,
Well, I think it could stay on your plan, maybe not in the priority, but that it's still exploring feasibility in some way, not in the same way you did.
okay,
Because it's going to be a council goal.
As we were
And-
looking for money.
But
Just,
yeah,
looking for
exploring funding options. yeah.
Mhm. Right. And then we'll get more detail on how we go about that and how much we put into that as we get more answers from
okay.
council.
That's way too small for you to see, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, I had some-
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. Swimming or water play, we know that came from the master plan. We know we have the Go Bond project talking about a waterfront swim area. We still have the same issue. And
So if I can give a little bit of feedback right now on the
Yeah.
Willamette project, if I can, I'm just totally honest. A lot of the things that are listed there are totally not fully feasible or maintainable over time. So what I'm doing right now is not right now, but in the near next couple of weeks is looking at the projects that are stated there, the dollars amount that is still left with what was anticipated. And then how do you leverage what's there with what was wanted and get something completed? Because like the trail that goes all the way to, historic city hall, Ken spent some money, not feasible right now. It costs way more than the money we have. Also with the Willamette project, how that should really dovetail together,
Yeah.
right? So I just,
Mhm.
as you're looking through these, I'll just say it, my gut right now that we've vetted for you all is that the non-motorized boat launch is like the most tangible project that we potentially have, and what other features within that were listed that we can actually do and maintain. Because the swimming hole idea, how much I love that. The whole area is filled with logs. I don't know how we actually would keep it safe. So anyway, not saying not to those things, but doing a budget overview right now with left in the account and then figuring that out. So when you're going through these, I think that project needs to stay on the list, but maybe the individual pieces know that they will have to be reviewed and presented to you as what our options are.
So to update this, I put reviewing go bond projects and funds to revise planning and progress on plan for the issues. I added access is in question and we have safety issues
Right.
with Tualatin.
Yep. Is that right?
Last
Okay.
one.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Walking, biking improvements. I think that this definitely needs updating here.
I have an idea, but I don't know if it's what you would want. We are trying to do kind of a evaluation of all of our natural trails, which would also include our connector trails for neighborhoods. I haven't
Mhm.
gone as far as I wanted to, but again, the concern of recreational immunity. That's something that I'm gonna have to really look at funding with all the Boy Scout projects that have been built to create these trails of rehabbing those. So that is a top priority for me as far as looking at our deferred maintenance. So I don't know, which it would tie to the trails master plan, it would tie to the park or the master plan of parks in general. I
Well,
don't know how, but that could be something, because I like to go on a walking tour one day and kind of talk about some of the things that we're seeing and what we're having to do.
so I put
Um,
evaluate current trails for safety and deferred maintenance
Mhm.
needs.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah. And when we were putting together the master plan for 2019, when we were asking people about connecting parks and
Yeah.
things like that, the number one thing that came out was, our kids walk to school and they're not sidewalks. Okay, I mean, that was, which is
Yeah.
still big on the thing.
It
So
is.
even though we were talking about parks, what we had to tell city council was that the most important thing is that kids walk into the school, have
More important.
someplace they can walk on and not be hit by a car.
And that could be something too, in the safety, when like even with Counselor Bonington was mentioning that, even though, I mean, that connects to the park piece too, right? And I don't know if the parks, we maintain the one neighborhood trails, not the sidewalks, right?
Mhm.
So I think there's that really good connection between that right there and somehow our connector trails
Mhm.
act as that connection.
Yeah, if we have
You know?
trails, what trails get used the most,
Mhm.
we need to make sure those trails are safe.
Right,
A trail that
Right.
gets used hardly ever, well,
correct.
that may be ones we say, maybe we don't have
Right.
trails there.
Right.
You
Trail counters is what I want to do.
know.
Well, I
So-
really,
I
Okay.
don't want to go off on too much of a tangent though. We brought up recreational immunity. So that then raises the question, if these trails are primarily being used by school kids going to school, it kind of takes them out of the realm of recreational immunity if there's hazards and so forth. On the other hand, it would give us impetus for making sure that those are the best maintained trails,
it
right?
was my understanding, maybe I misunderstood, that the advice was, instead of focusing on as many trails as we can, let's focus on safe sidewalks
That's
to
right.
make sure that the kids are getting to school, not
It wasn't.
not
many-
using the trails.
I
as a
thank you,
safe
because I wasn't
sidewalk.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
now with you. I was thinking
Yeah.
what you were saying.
Yeah.
No, it
But-
was,
No, when we did the master plan, that's the first thing we heard from everybody.
Yeah.
Was
Mhm.
that there are places, I mean,
Yeah.
Klamath's the most common, but I mean,
Well, there's-
where there weren't sidewalks for our kids to walk on to get to school. We're happy that you'd like to connect parks,
Yeah.
okay, by what you use, but we'd rather have sidewalks for the kids than your
Mhm.
park stuff.
I see what you're saying. So yeah, and I think we don't control necessarily how who's using our trails for their mode of transportation, but when you're coming into a park, the thought is that it's recreated, and they have also made that adjustment for walking. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because
Yeah.
this triggered a little bit of extra thinking in my
There,
brain.
yeah, so in our neighborhood near Cedar Oak Elementary, there's the connector trail between Nixon and the school, comes right out of the school.
Right.
And then between Kenthorpe and Cedar Oak. And so there is no equivalent sidewalks for the kids to walk on. That's how the kids from Mapleton and Kenthorpe get to
Yeah.
Cedar Oak Elementary, they go through that trail.
So in things that are interesting like that, if Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, that is not technically a city sanctioned trail, the neighborhood.
Right.
The trail, and are you trying, that's the one that Robinwood.
Well-
That's the water treatment trail.
Well, no, not that, the one
The one
between
that goes
Kenthorpe
Nixon right
and
Cedar Oak.
Yeah.
right on,
It's like you're going to somebody's driveway.
yeah, exactly.
In fact, did you go by two driveways?
So that was, I believe we're working with Robinwood neighborhood or Robinwood Station, the forest on that. But from what I understand, it became a trail. And then Boy Scouts improved it and now the fours are trying to do it, but we didn't build that. So
Mhm.
that's a whole nother thing, right? And that doesn't mean that we don't
So
maintain
who's
it.
liable when
That-
the
but
bridge
that's why-
over Little Creek collapses,
But
you
that's
know?
why we have to
yeah.
be careful about trails.
Right.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
I think it gets to what John was saying is that balancing what trails are fully being used on a regular basis, what are neighborhood trails that people have built from their backyards, we get a lot of those too. But this is really interesting actually, because now I'm thinking of it a little bit differently. So that's why you'll probably see I'm wanting to take our trails map off of our online right now. Did I mention this
Yeah, you
already?
did,
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Yes, because we need to get that right so people know where they can safely walk, right?
Right.
And those other trails are okay, but that doesn't mean we don't have the staff to manage all of them.
I identify which one were Boy Scouts, because I'm thinking about a trail in my neighborhood too, that I've never seen on any map.
Well, I have staff that have been here for over 20 years, so we're gonna go off of their knowledge of what we have.
And that First Street.
Mhm. And that doesn't mean we won't choose to make that a regular
Right.
trail, but we have to be cognizant of what our current inventory is and then what's being added on.
Well, it's not just, Casey, it's not just Boy Scouts. There was a push by,
Right.
doesn't matter who was
Oh, yeah.
pushing it, but there was a point that let's just cut trails,
Yeah.
maximum
remember
trails, so that anywhere you can go, you can get there on a trail in West Lynn. And,
But that begs the question, how do we know that all the trails are identified?
Well, staff
Yeah.
will have the best knowledge of what's occurred and we may not know everything, but then
Yeah.
it gives us a priority of maintenance. Like I have a trail closed right now in Pimlico that's a super cool
I know
trail.
which one.
But we can't, the quote I got, I think was $50,000 to have repaired, because the skill set that our staff has, who is amazing, it has to be realigned and it has to be the
Yeah.
grade and it's all by hand.
Mhm.
So that is a connector trail, but you can walk through the neighborhood. So is that where we spend our money?
Right.
At this moment in time, no,
right,
Yeah. But and again, we try to do as much as we can in-house, but that one needed technical expertise on it.
Right.
No way.
well, we're gonna focus on quality
Yeah, I
trails,
think that's
quality, comma,
Good
safe trails.
discussion. Thank you guys.
Does that
for
work?
bringing that up.
And, yeah, I think that that's important.
Yeah, and having coached distance runners for
You know.
almost
You know.
almost 30 years here in town. We've had kids on almost every trail there is,
Mhm.
but like that trail, it's been a no-go for a long
It's
time.
really cool, but when you have to hold on to something to sit to get down to the next
And,
step.
you know,
slide
the
down.
trouble is the 14-year-old will go like, I can jump over that, you know,
No.
and then
That's
it's
why
broken, you know,
It's
whatever.
closed and they can do whatever
So-
they want. I
so
have
they
it
don't-
closed.
They don't go on those trails. We give them a list of places they can go.
Yeah.
Based on Megan's presentation earlier for number 4 with the current investment plan, I changed the Go Bond project to investigating the safe options for 4.1 Go Bond project, non-motorized boat launch at Willamette Park.
Correct.
And that's a correct way of doing
And
it.
part of that plan currently just again has staircases that would potentially will get you down there without the boat launch piece. So that again is improving the safety to the access of water.
Cool.
Okay.
So it kind of hits both of those.
And we continue to have paddleboard and kayaking programming. Really nice, and we like that. Let's continue. Okay, great. We're just making good progress here. Then we go down to maintenance of current parks and adequate parks and rec staffing, dealing with invasive species as a prioritized need. This whole piece around maintenance of parks. And I think some of the things that you talked about tonight need to be added here. And that is SOPs for maintenance.
Yeah, maintenance manual plan, so we're calling it. It's not going to be as formal as the SOP for every item. So it's a guiding document.
Megan, is this where you would put your integrated pest management?
I would, yes, that would be a good one in there.
What about the commercial use of the park?
Yep. I have it down. I do. I have it down.
I had,
Bring up.
there's 3 things on my list. So that was one, commercial use in the parks, we gotta read about. Mary S. Young lease, which sounds like it's going good.
Oh,
And then
good.
the integrated
Pest management. I think, so I just know I won't forget that one, the one that, yes.
Okay.
But with this, there's a couple things that'll happen. So invasive species are really a point for me, and we just had a meeting with Mary Sam Volunteer just before this meeting. A goal of ours, a goal of mine, bringing Tara along, is to get some organization within our friends, our volunteer groups. So we have kind of a common mission and plan, thinking not only because of that group, knowing what we're contributing and adding to what they're doing, but then I'm looking at potential grants down the road and looking at where we can leverage, since we don't currently have any money to deal with our invasive species, how do we start to transition that? So kind of building the case of really quantifying and record keeping, nothing daunting for the friends groups, but some simple things to say, what's your work plan for the year? Here's your work party days. Is there areas of focus? They can change, but then we can start to show that there's this effort that the community is putting in, and how do we match that budgetarily in whatever means we can get. But right now, it's just kind of word of mouth. Tara does a ton, but it will also make her life easier. So that's part of my plan for this year as well. Because right now there's $17,000 that goes to supporting volunteer activities. That's just monetary, not all the staff time.
Yeah.
That goes into coordinating that too. And I really want to quantify that so we can leverage it. We don't have time lost with all the
So-
effort.
So does this fit?
I think it does.
5.1 maintenance manual, 5.2 integrated pest management, 5.3 structure and standards for commercial use of parks, and 5.4 joint planning with volunteer groups.
I think that sounds great.
Okay,
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Now I see you taking all sorts of notes. Did I capture your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Um,
You're good. You're getting ahead, aren't you?
no, I'm trying catching up is what I'm.
Okay.
Can't.
Can't?
They were told, and we're confirming that.
What's that?
Yeah.
No chainsaws in parks for volunteers.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That came from the lawyer, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I was surprised it wasn't known because we talked about it on our walking tour, we thought, but we got that confirmation that it wasn't known at Marius Young today. So we're gonna be messaging that out.
Okay.
So
Do we
Me
still?
personally, it's not a problem. I don't use chainsaws.
there's
but
3 people that do, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, there's more than that, but
Yeah.
So when we had dog park off leash area on the agenda, we had, I forget what month we had that on our agenda this last year. We basically pulled a whole bunch of people just casually, and the board said, this really isn't a prioritized need at this time. It seems to be kind of settled. So I'm just going to ask the board, does as a prioritized need, does off the leash area still need to be on our prioritized need list?
I don't hear anybody talk about
I don't
it.
either.
So, I mean, I don't have a dog, but I have neighbors with dogs, and I don't hear any comments about it. I haven't asked this specific question, but
The one that we had was an ADA parking space, and that did get added in over there over the summer. So that was nice. And that was something,
at
Picnic,
the Marius Young.
mhm.
Oh,
A picnic
new
tables
new
were added.
tables and some new trees.
Yeah. That's
So
nice.
it seems like some of the concerns about the running of dogs out, it seems like that's kind of
Mhm.
solved itself for the moment, but
I think it's a big enough park that the dogs have so much space
Yeah.
that they don't need to run out. If it's a smaller park, you know, you got to give them the boundaries, but I have seen dogs run away from there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, it happens, but it doesn't happen very often.
right.
yeah.
And almost anybody that uses the park more than I just came for the first time ever,
They didn't know,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
know about that. So if you
Mhm.
watch people around that dog area and the other side, okay, people drive pretty slow.
I think there was one question, it wasn't just dog safety that I'm remembering now from meeting with the Marius Young volunteers, is this is different than dog parks, but I just remembered it. It was the having a crosswalk from that dog park area, that back trail that leads over to the field. So when people are parking, that's one
Yeah.
I did have down that I need to still sort out to figure out how to open up a vision corridor. So as you're driving through, and then creating some sort of crosswalk. So it was either block it off and put people to go the other way to the crosswalk, or if you can't beat them, join them. And we still have to look at that for a safety precaution. And that's not the dog park is right behind
Yeah.
there. So
Well, that feels good. And then we had disc golf. I don't think I mean, that really,
That's what we're talking about today.
really,
We're trying to explore. Yeah,
With Willamette.
yeah, we're gonna see, and we don't know, but it's something that would be a
They're
really
willing to
added
do-
benefit.
anything. All we need is a little bit of energy on our
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. You
Okay.
can help program that or.
I bet we can get some volunteers to help with that too, to help them, help us, you know, all, yeah.
Yeah, there were kids just golf association. right?
Oh, there's a disc golf team,
It's like a.
Westland disc golf team. Yeah,
I didn't even realize it was one.
it's huge.
This one's not really.
No,
No.
I dug.
It's not. It needs a lot of work.
So we haven't had any requests this year, but it's something that we saw as an opportunity before, and we're gonna look to pursue it again. Again, it's a huge added benefit that may not take a whole lot.
The other thing, I walked it when it came up on our agenda. It's a nice little walk. You know, we talk about need for trails and stuff.
Yeah.
It's more like trails than it is disc golf. I mean, you've got to
Pretty
be.
throwing over.
Yeah. You've got to be.
Unbelievably, you better
Well,
bring a few
It's
extra.
private
Yeah.
property, right? It is so,
The church.
it's a church, so yeah, so we'll just have to have an agreement for count, yeah. And that might be something we have to just talk with them about too. I mean, we're looking at cornhole leagues and things that we can start doing. Like,
I love that.
Mhm.
So, when we left that, I just talked to somebody about it. We had a Westland party at the house and it came up. It's an agenda. At a party. No, and there happened to be somebody from the church there.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, we love the thought of that being used for disc golf and having the community use that. That's the best thing
That's
possible.
great for us.
So, yeah.
Now, whether it needs to
Definitely.
be an agenda item for you guys or not, just know that we're, looking at it as
Okay.
well.
That's fine.
Okay.
Um,
I'm just gonna put staff. This is a staff thing. But if you want any fun, need help, that's when I kind of like.
Well, maybe the need to be new activities that we think about, things like cornhole and all, but this is in that same category.
Yeah.
yeah, we're looking at,
New recreational opportunities.
Well, that kind of goes into the activate parks, repurpose tennis courts, outside gyms, historical interpretation.
that is true. I think if you add
Cornhole.
that, because we're looking at workshop days, one day versus multiple day classes, like,
Yeah.
so we're really reinventing that right now.
Right.
I love that. And then McLean House, is that still a
So-
priority for us to talk about?
No, but I do, Counselor Bonington did bring up the opportunity, and I'm not exactly certain how and when this would ever happen, but what he was trying to talk about was the ODOT is there working underneath the 205.
Right.
Right? We have our piece that we own, the other piece is ODOT. The question's been floated out by multiple people to say they have to restore it back to what it was, which again would be a benefit. They're going to invasive species gone and planted. Is there any part of that structure that should remain? The parking, and how do you even go? I mean, this project's still a few years out from being completed, but the time is current to find out what is possible there.
That's great.
So that's what and there's, for his part, he was talking, there's a huge cultural resource there, right? As far as not only for education and just the resource in general. The figuring out of how you even go about having that conversation is to start with John, to just figure out, we've all talked about, they've got that parking lot there.
Yeah.
Now with the roundabout,
Mhm.
coming in and out of that is actually relatively safe. Is that possible to leave there? When they restore it, could there be a trail that goes down to the river? What would ODOT allow us to do underneath there? We have our one connector trail that has to remain, but we don't really know what the possibilities are.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
he didn't want to lose that as a, to have that conversation going. John had brought it up when we walked down there. We were just trying to figure out how to start and how not to miss out on an opportunity. There may not be any opportunities, right? It may just be, it needs to go back, the best thing to do. But what is there, especially since we have a lack of parking at
Mhm.
McLean House? In my mind, I'm thinking, Willamette Falls opens up, our big project. You've got historic City Hall there with limited parking, and that connection between that all the way down to Maddox Woods could be very interesting. And then, of course, another water access point too. I always worry about maintenance, that you can't see it from the road, that type of, those things that you consider, but it is potential, it's an opportunity that should be at least explored. And that would be, I know he would be happy, but it's been talked around all around, and making that as a priority to explore it.
So I changed it to McLean House / ODOT work area restoration target, source, the advisory board, city council, that's Kevin, and staff, and I just put generate options and create a plan.
Yeah, and I would say maybe for park opportunities. I wonder if that park and
Options.
recreation opportunity, I don't know how to.
For,
Historical resource, I mean, it's kind of all of those things, like
Park,
what could it be? Because it really will
recreation.
enact the park portion of it by
and
having,
Some sort of community benefit.
Yeah.
thank you, exactly, yeah.
okay, excellent.
But to be clear, this would, what you're talking about is including the part that ODOT owns as well. I mean,
Potentially,
yeah,
right? Like what, what maybe,
right.
if they're able to leave part of their resource and give us permission to use it, say it's a parking lot, then we can actually use something at Westbridge. Right now, Westbridge has no way to really get there besides the dead end road.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Especially if there's a cost to pull all that stuff out, right?
Yeah.
there is.
So
right?
if they can eliminate that cost, then all of a sudden somebody else is gonna take care
Right.
of some of that. Then
Yeah,
it-
because they'll have to do some kind of restoration work regardless,
Exactly.
and
I'm
Yeah.
being, starting point is they should have plans for that
They
already.
do, for the restoration, they do, and the clearing out, that was
Right.
already like approved. But now that the city has thought about it more
Right.
and they've seen what's happened, the question is, what should we ask them to save any of what's
Right.
there?
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there any way that we can tour that area safely?
Yeah, we can take you down there. I mean, the trail is, they're required to keep it open. I feel horrible for ODOT and that construction company. It's a requirement of ODOT, not the city, that they have to keep trail access open all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes they're
I
paying
didn't know
taxes
that.
and you're seeing it all.
Oh, God.
It's crazy the cost that they're having to spend on that. But yes, it would be, and we can meet down there, or you can go individually and tour and just at any time take a
They're
look
not
at the
paid
work.
for it.
It's a lot to think of keeping
Yeah.
the trail open.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's a requirement by ODOT, not us. But I really would maybe even a homework item when you get a chance to just go park at McLean and walk. It is so impressive. And you'll see our water line underneath there.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
And then activate parks is always, that's just something that we are always focused on. What I'm curious about is, what are some of the priorities that aren't listed here that matter to you? Or, excuse me, that you believe matter to the community? Did anybody come with anything beyond what's already on here?
There's everything on my list.
Okay.
I'm good.
I have passive recreation, which most of that is there, but I'm thinking, I know I'm on the board. But I'm trying to think of things like the cornhole that could be set up that doesn't cost a lot to use.
That's it.
Walking, exercise, mobile app that you could look and see, not like our big fitness thing that costs a lot of money, but something that people can do health and wellness as they're walking, educational opportunities as you're learning about a wetland. Like those types of things that are still recreating, but that don't take a lot of staff time and not a lot of maintenance time, but as an added benefit. Even like just tables that are checkers or track.
Yeah,
that is,
I love that.
that type of thing that builds that community spaces. Those are things I would love to be able to do.
I went ahead and put that into activate parks, passive recreation, and I put cornhole and some of these other. But that ties into a priority I'm feeling very strongly. We know that we don't have a rec center. We don't have a community rec center, and we're not going to get one this year. So I want to keep on our priority the idea of without getting too far down the rabbit hole, a safe place for elementary and teenagers, and middle school, to be able to connect. And I think that we need to continue to be really creative, whether it's using Sunset or Robinwood or the library or something that through the lens of recreation, creating that third space for our kids, a safe place that's not school, that's not home, that they can go to other than Safeway or Starbucks. I think that there's a lot of reasons behind that, and I'm not going to take up all their time, but I'm really passionate about continuing to have that as a priority. And when we look at our planning, if there's any way we can make that real. I think about cross country as that's that safe place for those kids involved. And we have huge track and cross country, right? But, every kid should have a safe place to go. So anyway, that's my personal priority. I'd like to put in something that I had a lot of community interactions over the holiday. Came up a lot. We had a huge party with all of these kids that had graduated from Westland High School. And I asked them, you guys have gone away. Everyone flew in. It was right before Christmas. I said, in retrospect, what does this community need? And that's what they all talked about was, they took away Sherry's.
Right, yeah.
It was
Um,
such a big
that was
deal.
a big
Round
deal.
table.
And they took over that way round table and there just isn't that place. In Milwaukee, they have Pietro's.
It's going away too.
And that's going away.
Some apartment complexes. or
It is,
condos or
but
something.
I think if recreation is part of our charter, we have to start thinking outside of the box of just sports and activities. Anyway,
Well,
beating a dead horse here. Okay, so is it okay if I add that?
Well, and to that thought, all the places that we've named, other than the Robinwood and Sunset, they've all been business entities. So I have to say, why does it have to be Parks and Rec doing it? Isn't there other opportunities? I mean,
we can partner with people, like even, we can, like it could be other entities that are not us, but we could even partner with them.
Well, here's how it ties in. Let's say it comes up on the agenda. What are some passive activities that we can build at Hannah Creek Park? And maybe we want to build this area that isn't for the little kids to be doing their little horsey things. It's with cornhole and games and, some things that our older kids would want to hang out and do. And so that's how I think it integrates into Parks and Rec, is that we create those safe places. We have lots of places for little kids. And us adults, we make our own place.
yeah, we find it.
But our other kids, they don't have someplace other than school and home to go.
And then I think who watches them who's responsible
Well,
for them when they're at
that-
these wonderful places?
Well, and that's where they have to, it depends on the situation, if it's commercial, but I don't know if everybody knows this, but my kiddo found from another friend that they would leave Rosemont and rode the bus to the library and stayed at the library until 6:30, and I came and picked them up. And because there was activities and just hanging out space where it wasn't a teen lounge where it can get really cliquey, it was just an easy, you can go and be of your own space there. And then they have some activities that are, so it was really interesting, but that wasn't known that our second year there, know that was even a possibility, right? So I always think of transportation, even if we have connections to say for businesses or something, how do we get that connectivity to get that around when
Well, we have a new bus line too.
Yeah.
So I had two things
Okay.
that are concerns me. One might not be strictly parks, but we talked about it with the the rec planning, which is climate refuge. Just having a place to go with all this climate crap. Don't mean crap, but wildfire smoke, places like that where people can go. So I just think there's a natural fit there for parks. And it's something that I would like to ask the question about.
Do you know that we already have the library set for that
Right.
relief, and then the ACC is not, it's for
Right.
heat, it can be.
But
And
it's
then,
not.
well, no, not for cold and winter, we don't have the, yeah, but the
Right.
library is, and we're looking at the amount of need that we got was relatively low, but we want to make sure we have all the safe harbors for anybody who does.
Right,
need.
we need safe
But I mean,
harbors
about it
with
last week.
transportation to and from though, too. That's my other issue, is how you get people there that need that help, and I think if we just learn from LA, this is critical, right?
Mhm.
So I'd like to bring that up. The other thing, which is really parks, which I brought up in my previous time on parks, which is always a concern to me, is the whole accessibility issue. Accessibility not only just for wheelchair and ADA, but visual, low vision, hearing impairment. All of those all of those accessibility issues. I have concerns about where do our parks fit in there and how accessible are our parks to people with disability. So that's an issue coming from healthcare, I have a lot of issues around that.
I don't know if you can see it. I put accessibility for diverse abilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one to look at. I mean, you just mentioned how we added ADA parking. You know, what other things are out there?
Right.
So,
Right.
Like
Met with a
museums
company,
have,
remember the name, at Fields Bridge.
right,
I've met with them and they walk through all of Fields Bridge.
right.
But it comes down to even the kiosk, like for someone in a wheelchair, you know, accessible, visibly, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Little
cities,
things we don't think
Yeah.
of.
a lot of cities have an ADA audit.
Yeah.
We have not had that here yet, at least to my knowledge, for parks or necessarily facilities.
Mhm.
So that is something that's on a target to get.
Right.
A lot of what you hear, it's hard to obtain to actually improve it, because you could actually have that door needs to be changed by 2 inches to be able to meet code and to care where your dollar amount
No, yeah,
goes,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But having that audit is something we definitely need to have eventually.
Exactly.
Because then we know where to focus our energy on making those improvements.
And money, where do you put it? I mean,
I
just
have a-
even,
Along these lines, Stacy, I remember, I was just trying to remember, I was working with Oregon Travel and Oregon Travel Information Council, and one of the things that they were looking at were QR codes that you could do from your car that would, this is really pulling old
I
stuff.
can explain it to you because I did it in LO.
Oh, okay, that basically, you can take your phone and it's like, let me tell you about
right.
Willamette Park and the
Right.
history, blah, blah, blah.
I've used those when I
Cool.
travel.
Yeah.
I've used those in other
Yeah.
cities and countries that.
Do we have that in Whistler?
We
And they tell me where to
And there's
go
only a
now.
few in LO.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
Providence collection has one, and the
What do we call that?
You call that, I've used it,
Informational.
I remember there's a very specific term and it's just escaping
There
me.
is a very.
And then it links to the website, and then you can link it to your own website, so you don't have the maintenance updates on it. But it's through, and you get a grant through Travel Oregon, and so I was trying to think of
That's
where.
who I was working with.
Great, you can.
Yeah, there's a lot, especially if you think along the way, again, that's part of that when I was talking about passive recreation, where you have educational that you go along, you can do a whole trail series on something like, I mean, when you think about if we ever get the full Willamette Trail together, all the history and the habitat would just be so great. We can do that in lots of different places.
Right,
And that's part of that thing with collecting the data of where our
yeah,
people are coming from. I'm instantly thinking of
Mm.
that grant,
right,
of other things to help support our actual programs that we have.
right. Right,
You're back.
but I do think accessibility is a place we've not quite explored enough.
Okay,
That we need to be better at.
Well, and it could
being proactive.
Yeah.
we just need, I think it's an area we just need to do better.
Okay. Were there any other additions to that list?
Those are mine.
That's awesome.
I got your list on the.
Okay.
You're there,
Oh, cool.
the ODOT, McLean House ODOT area.
So then, based on that analysis, and based on our discussion and our plans of what we want to see for 2025, the other handout that I had, I took a stab at our 12-month plan, and nothing on here is in stone. It is in silk. All right. And I have it up on the screen. And so just a couple of general things. The group said, one, we want to optimize our time together by reading stuff in advance that's relative. And so on any given topic, you know, is there something that we can be educating ourselves, going and looking at? The other thing that we said is using technology to meet at different locations. And so I just would like to walk through this. All of the dates are for 2025. And, you know, some of them we know, like we put together our plan for 2025. In January, February, we do all of our reviews at the end of the year, but everything in between is up to us based on the priorities that we just established. And so I want you to take a moment and just kind of read through this and take your pen and just mark it up. I tried to think through some of the logical timing, but I didn't get a chance to meet with staff on this. And so, like I said, this is in SOAP. And we can add anything we want. And then I'm going to just add the two things that we've already talked about. In February, adding the discussion on city data. And in June, preparing a communication through Westland Tidings. They can-
And that starting right up in July, I think.
Yeah, but I think we were
Yeah,
just talking with them, so it could be.
For July.
Yeah,
So you can have one.
And were we gonna go to city council then too?
I was hoping that we would, when we do the proclamation, it would be good if we were
I
there.
think so too.
Marine
Gotta read
or
July.
Mediterranean Oak Mediterranean Oak.
So one thing, no, wait till you're done with that, but,
Oh, just.
2 years ago, we asked, Ken for more involvement in the budget process. And so I'm looking at the 23 plan, and we had budget items, February, March, April, and May and July,
Mhm.
different steps, so we could be informed and comment on it and so forth. I'd really like to see some of that, so we kind of know
Okay.
where the budgeting
Oh.
part, because so
I
that's,
moved it up.
well, I went back to our 2023 plan where we had, previously, we really weren't involved at all. And so we kind of pushed, and we actually added, in 2023, we had a budget as a discussion item, February, March, April, May, and July.
Mhm.
I don't know that, I don't remember that we really needed all of that, but,
I had put it down for March, what I was aiming for.
okay.
And if I had any updates, because what it will be is what I'm wanting to stage, what I'm going to the budget committee for, and that you guys may be on board with some of those priorities for help for advocacy. So because I haven't been through it, I don't know the full timeline of it, but I know right now I'm working with finance on just baseline projections, adding in capital projects that are needing to do with some of our funding. So, I mean, I could be as early as having February, but I knew March for certain I'd be able to give a kind of a full overview of what we're doing and why. And then it may continue on if there's still some adjustments. So I appreciate you bringing that up because I wanted to move that up to at
Okay.
least March.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be good.
Okay.
So just by way of expectations, kind of what are your thoughts on, what would you like in the March?
Well, I think maybe, so what we had there for February, March is consolidate that, but then, maybe, April and May, it's part of your update. If there's anything else to share.
Mhm.
And then whenever the final budget, so we had it down as July, the approved budget,
You know, when we go
when you'll
to,
approve budget.
when do you go to, well, budget committee, that's a whole new one for me, right? When we go to,
New for me too.
so
but-
that's where we'll
but at
look, but
the
to
very
me,
end.
Stephen, the updates up until then.
Okay,
And then when it gets approved, then to kind of
yeah,
spread that out. And
Okay.
hopefully there shouldn't be, and my thought for the first meeting is I would essentially bring like our raw
Yeah.
budget. So it's
Yeah.
not a ton of light items, but you can actually see what we have currently
Right, right.
allocated. Areas that I'm asking to increase, which I can't ask a lot, to be honest with you, but I'm also looking in my mind a 5-year plan of staffing needs and project needs and deferred maintenance needs. So that's kind of where I would kind of just show you, that's what I was figuring I would do in that March timeframe.
that'd be
Kind of go,
good.
this is what we already are doing, and this is where I'm looking to advocate for more. And then see how that lines in with what you guys are doing and then where that,
Yep.
partnership.
So
Yeah,
for that to
yeah.
be on our March agenda, I
Mhm.
put read budget information in advance. So
Mhm.
in February, if we could get that, unfortunately, a lot of the homework for us either is we need to go check something out, or
Yeah.
we need to read something in advance.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And,
yeah, definitely.
even if like a project update that's just bullet
Oh,
items.
I'll be able to give like it's not too hard to give even just a spreadsheet of what our line items are and where things are at. And not that I have to I want you to see an overview. I'll give you more details and then just so you can kind of see what we're thinking. Staff hasn't even all seen it in the years past, and all of the staff members are gonna get involved in budget.
Yep.
So I think it just helps you make better informed decisions.
Good,
So thank you
thank
for
you. So
bringing that up.
I did put that on here and I also put it into now, some things I put in here and it's only because I seem to recall that we have to have a discussion on it. And Bee City, Tree City, Mob, Tree Code, those kind of fall into that bucket. Are those actual requirements?
Yes.
Okay.
So you guys are now the committee for both of those, and it hasn't really been acted that way in the past.
Mhm.
So what we're planning on doing, and Tree City definitely has to be in March. Do you feel like if we need to bump something, Bee City we don't get our, I can't remember when our applications fully due in approval.
I seem to recall last year, we
Was it
said,
June? I think it was June.
oh,
I think it could be, it's definitely June if it's not May. But Tree City, what we're gonna do is we present to you what what we're planning for the year, what our accomplishments were last year. And that meeting solidifies that, yay, we're still doing a good job and then we turn everything in. So like we're turning our Tree City report right now, for our accomplishments for last year.
mhm.
So that's where we would bring that to you then and then talk about what we're doing for this year.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I feel like if we needed to bump, Vicky, as you're looking at, if we need to bump Bee City down to April or May based on just how things are getting filled up, I feel like we can do that. We just need to have a meeting with the active board.
Okay,
So,
so,
When are you gonna have Mary S. Young Police? That we can see.
yeah, I tossed that in April.
so Marius Young is happening right now. So my thought would be that I would give you updates in February
Okay,
of what that would be. That's what I'm hoping for. But I may have to bump it based on where it gets, stuck with
Right.
the city attorney.
mhm.
I'm gonna let you take all those notes because I'm gonna start getting my scrolls around going the wrong way.
I'm just putting it right into the minute.
No, I know you are. That's why I'm not doing any note taking.
So
But I just don't want to forget it. The thing that honestly for February has to be a very high topic for us is the commercial use in
Mm.
parks. And not just for down to earth in general. I've been honestly struggling trying to figure out how to bring that to you as far as looking at whether agencies are and looking at options. So my thought process is I would come with a baseline plan of what we think would really work with what we currently do to streamline that use. It's not to prohibit it, but it's to have a little bit more of control of who's coming in and what that process is, and be able to have that kind of document kind of sat there and then have you review it. There's still some policy figuring out of just even a forward school, not down to earth in general, of where we may go with that. So I don't want to keep it focused on that, but I do want to be honoring that they're trying to figure out what we're doing, next year with them. This document may not get us to a yes or no with them, but at least it'll guide us with how we are handling that commercial use, those food carts and other camps and activities, and knowing that we have to monitor and manage it too. So it's like it has to be a guideline and policy that we can actually. I'm not going to put that all on you guys to say, tell us how to do it. I want to come to you with best practices from around.
Yep.
And then start with a discussion.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I feel like
Consistency.
it is. Well, and then people know what to anticipate. And if I get a report of something, I can reach out and say, here's how you go about it. So I would really, if I could make that in February,
Okay.
I
I'll move
really
that
would
from May.
like to do that. And if March turned into, I can do go bond stuff too in March if you need to. But that was one I want to make sure they're not panicking and worrying about. And I think they found a model to meet our requirements right now. We got to look at long-term, how that works.
Appropriate for Valentine's Day.
I know. I think
Well, that's, the game's on the 13th,
Oh, it's the
February
13th.
13th, March 13th.
Right, yeah, March
And April
13th.
10th.
Did you see that?
Okay. And you said that. Well, I have a question, Vicky, about this, the location thing.
Yeah, I just tossed some ideas out.
Okay. And here's, great. Here's my, when we had done this in the past, again, I, thinking back, we had met off away from City Hall. It was intentional about being in the park. So I'm wondering, instead of like Robinwood Station, if we went to 11th Park, or instead of the adult community center, if we.
So we have a requirement that our meetings have to be online. It's a requirement now, and so that's why I was suggesting that we can say that the agenda, half of the agenda that's formal would be in person somewhere, and then we can travel to a park for the last hour that's open to the public. Say we're moving here, would you like to meet us? Because if we just meet at a park, we have to worry about accessibility.
Okay.
And so that has been, I don't know if it's a new change after COVID that has been it's a requirement.
Yeah, because the beauty of going is being in the park.
We can still do that though. We can have our own ad hoc meeting where we go meet, and I think we need to go down to Willamette. It was really great, especially when I'm talking with these go bonds, you guys can visually see that we can still do that. And we just say that there's a potential quorum notice. Not that it would take extra time, but we could either do it at the end of a meeting or not instead of a meeting, but we can do it. Yeah, we can just do a potential quorum notice that we're going to go meet at a park, and we can eat. Then it's open to the public. People can come and meet with us and walk and talk.
Right, which they did.
But yeah, the requirements for equity, we have to do it online.
Well, this came up with the one that you were missed,
Yes.
and it was part of our discussion, and Kevin said, I know we have the technology to do that at a park.
So yes, and so I
Some
did
parts.
double check. We just have to make sure that it works and who's responsible for that. And so it's just a matter of, I couldn't get to a yes on that. I double checked upstairs after I listened to the meeting. We know for certain we can do it another way where we can still have both. So we can work to get to that portion. We have to make sure that the sites we go to are accessible as well, right? And that we're able to get clear online. I'm all for it if we can figure it out. So yeah.
So I just put if accessibility and technology works.
And technology is the number one there, right?
Yeah.
Accessibility, we wouldn't choose somewhere down in the back 40 where people couldn't get to, you know?
We're gonna meet in the middle of Wilderness.
But you
Park.
know, if we did the Mary Stone shelter, for example, you know, we know that there's the ramp and you can get people there. So, you know, that type of thing.
Mhm. So I can put that, and the only reason why I put Adult Community Center and Robinwood as suggestions is, you know, we don't have a rec center, and I think that as we talk about recreation, we need to be really familiar with what's available. And we had the adult rec people here, and we talked about trying to forge a better relationship and be more present so that they feel like they're represented as well. And so just one meeting at the Adult Community Center and one meeting at Robinwood.
We should go there for lunch or something.
Well, no, have the meeting there.
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
If you're looking at locations, another option would be, especially since you're looking at, it would be maybe nice to have a meeting at the library as to see our partnership and the programming that they offer. Also Historic City Hall, because Robinwood is really managed by Robinwood. I mean, we could totally meet there still, right?
Mhm.
And the Historic City Hall will not be managed by us either, but there's opportunities for programming there as well for us with that partnership. So, could be another place. And then, you know, then we can go for a walk down under the bridge and over that, you know. And McLean is also another option, or check's okay at
I
McLean.
actually had McLean on for October. Perfect.
When the days are longer, right?
Mhm.
You'll be outside.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's not
It's dark at 5 o'clock, yeah.
dark
Yeah.
at 4:30.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see what we're able to do because of our posting and having people know where to be able to meet us at, that we're moving.
Right.
Well, that's one of the things, if we can get our year to glance on the website, that does count as posting.
Mhm.
So. And
Yeah, McLean might be a struggle. It's just the tech isn't great there.
Yeah. Little slow.
Mhm.
so the WebEx is slowing down my movement and typing, and it's kind of driving me crazy. So I'm just going to make the changes on the actual paper. I've done everything we've discussed so far, but what else do we have that we want to add?
Tweak some dates.
Yeah,
February 13th,
February 13th. I got the wrong date. Okay. Thank you.
and then March 13th. April 10th. Yep, and then April 10th.
Thank you.
It's one day off.
One day.
Not bad.
Thanks.
But all the other ones are fine, I know.
Thanks.
And I was wondering, I know Willamette's a focus, but there's other bond projects, not very many that aren't finished. Is it okay to just include that with Go Bond projects? For, it's not just Willamette Park?
Right,
Okay,
right.
just to make sure. And I might need a chance to review this, to think about how many things I'm presenting in order, how much it goes into one space. But I had down, would you like a presentation on Vision 43?
Yes.
Okay.
When would you want to do that?
Wherever we have a hole, because it's just a matter of wherever you can feel. I talked to Chris and he said yes. Wherever you feel like something might be late in there. The other one was the Willamette River Front Project, to have a presentation on that too. And again, what I will, we'll try to have a little bit formulated to how it connects to parks, right? So both of those have parks connections to both of those. But we can have those two planners come in.
So, February has Willamette Park Bond projects to discuss. It sounds like you won't be ready for it and for her February discussion.
For Willamette Park Bond, no, I will be ready to talk about that. I also need to get the commercial use in parks.
I added that.
Perfect, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I put it in there twice at this point.
You could, the Go Bond, if you want to bump it, if it's better to be in March, that's completely okay. Like, as far as, you know, my plan is I'm prepping for this year. My goal is to have those projects, that funding sitting there is wrapped up and processed by the end of 2026. So right now for the non-motorized boat launch is 30% dock, with getting us ready for an application with the Marine Board. And if we're able to put more money towards that, we might be able to actually get farther in our documentation to get it more prepped for build, if that's where we go. I just think we still gotta look to see what dollars are left in the bond. Which I'm working with finance on right now.
So do we want to invite the discussion on February with our discussion on the Willamette waterfront.
Highway 43 vision.
I have to see, I think
When they're available.
it would be better to find out if a little bit later, so I give them some heads up. If
Yeah.
we have some dates. I feel like we've got quite a bit of discussion talking about the bond projects will probably take a bit. I think it'll take a chunk of time. If we're talking about commercial use and education, I think that's plenty for a meeting.
About April.
Yeah, and actually in March will probably be,
Well, March
Budget
is a
overview.
really big,
oh no, I was meaning to say May. I was going down.
oh, May,
Because May is actually light now because we moved
right,
commercial use up, and that may be a couple different meetings on that.
okay.
topic. Um,
Mhm.
You guys, I have to sneak out. Am I messing anything up with any
No,
votes or
This
any-
is,
Okay.
if,
I
if
have
we
to.
look, the only thing is, once we do this, I was just going to say, I'll go ahead and send this out as a draft. I'm still going to get the, rec stuff from the events from Tara. And if you can, read it, get your input to me, I'll revise it before our next meeting, so at our next meeting, we can bless it and move forward.
Sounds
Yeah.
great.
No, that I won't be on that email.
Yeah.
Just add safety as name, yeah.
Separately, yes.
You got it. I still have your
Gremlin in
email,
your computer.
okay?
All right, happy 2025.
You
All right.
too.
See ya. Bye.
The other one I had down, would you ever want John to come? He's told me to invite
Always.
city manager to come. He's, we didn't do this last year, but it'd be great that he would really have fun on one of our walking tours too. So if you put that down later in the summer sometime,
Yeah.
could be
That'd be
really
great.
good
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah.
Okay, so, like I said, let this soak. It's all in soak. We can change it however you want. Staff, if you feel this is just asking too much, whether it's technology or stuff, it's in soak, we can change it.
Oh, Vicky, thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's always easier to edit than it is to start with
Always.
a blank. So
Thank you for doing that.
this is a page,
I know, right?
what's that?
Especially in a
It
group.
can be
Yeah.
hard to
They
be
do a blank,
Yeah.
blank sheet and
So
That takes forever.
group composition.
the move forward is read through this whole thing.
Mhm.
And if you can, at least a week before the meeting, get me any edits you have. Because there's a lot on, our approach is, we really care about, if there's any changes, I'll email it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you have last year, but I'm
Yeah.
working on
Mhm.
2025, getting that done. I'll email it out as soon as I get
Great.
Tara's updates, and, if you can get your feedback to me a week before the meeting, I'll make all of the changes, get it back to you for a final review, so that hopefully, at our meeting, we can say, yes, this is what we want to say.
Great.
Does that sound good?
That's excellent. And one thing that came up in the council retreat was, I feel very fortunate that I feel like this board has a clear guidance and kind of goals and missions, and having that packet really defines that where others don't. And so I did share that with Kathy Molesky, that maybe other SCAGs can use this as a template, where it just, and it also helps with transfer of knowledge when somebody new comes in. It's just really helpful, Vicky. So thank you for creating that. I did share it and bragged on you about it. So. mhm.
This is a good group. And I think that by, this group, when things went a little bit sideways, we drew a line in the sand, and that's when we created this. And said, no, this isn't going to be that way anymore. We're going to have a different way of doing business. So, it's been helpful. Okay, so, yeah, summary, we, will play with this. I want to really extend a very strong, staff. I want you to look at it and
Yeah, I
think
will
about it.
definitely make sure.
Make sure that it aligns with your deliverables. I want us to align with your deliverables. Don't align your deliverables for us. Okay?
Thank you for that support.
And all gratitude for 2024 work done by.
Yeah.
Well, and a part that's missing that Tara and I, we still want to have some staff introductions of, like,
Right.
as
Mhm.
you can kind of start to see the faces behind who's doing what. So we're going to continue to insert that through as we go.
I love that.
That's great.
So,
That would be-
appreciate that.
Okay.
well,
Any other, action items that, I think we've covered everything?
I think so.
Okay.
My goal will be to send you out kind of at the same time before it'd probably be a week before, some of my thoughts on just commercial use, for us to kind of
Sure.
ponder. So when we get there, and I think it'll be in my mind a bit of an introductory of thought process for the first meeting, and then second meeting to be able to have some
Great.
recommendations for our department. So
Excellent.
does that sound good?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we're gonna be able to keep the people at Marriott's, or you don't know?
Well, we're working on a policy.
And then they
No,
can,
that's what we're doing
well,
right now,
yeah.
right?
and then they can choose to meet that policy or not.
Right.
So I'm thinking of it.
It's not be the same for everybody,
Mhm.
which is groundbreaking.
Well, it's just, thank you for that. So,
Yeah, more such stuff.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, we're not gonna be able to capture everything, but it will be that we're treating everybody fairly with the standard. We can have a little bit more understanding in our parks and control of what's going on. I just think if we had a food cart show up and somebody got sick, there's just some things, those would be anomalies, but just having a baseline, so we're trying to do it right.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna bring this up under, numbers, the, 6, from board members. I've been asked by a couple of different people, Parks and Rec having any kind of volunteer things for MLK Day. And if
So solve
so,
event at Marriott's Yard.
well, there, yes, solve. Is
But
there
that's
anything else?
usually, no, that's usually what our
Okay, but they
go-to is
But
the,
there's nothing else going on.
I have no idea of other
Okay.
departments, but for us, it's our volunteer activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And solve.
And I'm gonna be working to transition that from solve to say we have a Westland Parks and Recreation volunteer party, because that's really what it is.
Which it is.
It is.
Yes,
So that's what's happening on that day.
and is it happening on MLK Day?
I think Marion Young
They're
is.
down there, yeah, normally,
Mhm.
Yeah.
the 12.
On MLK Day.
And that's a really good thing.
Monday, 20th, right?
Yeah, it's a week from this Monday.
It hasn't, the part that I'm liking that you're bringing it up is it hasn't been advertised as
Right.
that, and I don't know that it's ever been thought of where we could even add additional support, but no, that's a
Right.
good question of saying,
The first I've heard of it.
Right.
no, well, it's just a good
That's right.
correlation to think about
That's why I
it.
got approached. I got approached about that in the pantry too. 'Cause people know I'm in all the flow. So.
Yeah.
Do we have a Teams, a MS Teams for Parks Board? Can we get do you guys use Teams?
We do, yes.
So-
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. You have to teach me.
I would like to propose that we have an MS Teams team. And it be for the Parks Board and you guys, so that we can keep key documents. For example, if I could just upload it to Teams and put,
Yeah.
add comments, you guys can all just get in and do comments.
Go do it.
No,
It's similar. If you could write up a proposal, I have to send that up top. I don't know what
Okay.
our legal requirements
Well-
are. And so if you could type up because I don't know how to describe what that is.
All right.
If you could type something up, I can ask Kathy Molesky if that's possible.
Well,
I
just
have
so you
no
know,
idea.
all my clients, including state clients,
Oh, yeah.
I have like the executive team and I keep all the stuff and we do everything, even
I have
Department
no
of Justice,
idea.
they
Every
just take
city is
the
different.
big
I
key,
don't
the key handy, so.
have no idea, but if you can explain it so I can
Okay.
share it above, and then you can even connect directly to find out if that's allowable here. I don't, even
Okay.
though it's everywhere is different.
Okay, I'm gonna
Very
look it up.
different here than my other city in lots of ways.
Request, PREB,
MST.
MS team. That would just make things so much easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Then if there isn't anything else, it's like, I'm watching 7:30 is, D time.
Yeah.
Yep.
If there isn't anything else, I'd like to suggest we close our meeting.
Okay with me.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job.
Yep. So the tree care guys that you had, cutting down trees,
Yes,
did a great job.
they did. That's who I used in LO. We had used.
So
And they were much.
Shit, you were.
You can.
Yeah.
Because they had you more cut.
Well,
Yeah, they were, the guys were great, cause
They were
I
still
met all of them,
dark.
came out. And I,
Well, none of
them happened.
Yeah, I think you like it. I'll get it.
yeah, I did.
Seems like,
they were coming
that's
back.
another, that's another thing today.
Saw their
Have
equipment.
your email.
Yeah.
No idea.
The trail, the one I, tell you what you come up.
Yeah.
You're the culvert, right, when you drop. the
We've been doing that with.
Who got it?
I know you guys.
We keep that.
Yeah.
You got it.
For the, you got dropped.
You can go in.
Had a big trail. I mean, but they were great about, you know.
Well, you can read it on your screen.
They're really good. All you do is
All
go
the time.
down that trail.
But then they have that.
Water is,
Yeah.
that's
They go
over.
back.
It'll be high,
Yeah.
but it'll go down. How
You-
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
We'll take care of that.
You drop something and put it out.
No, they know, so they've worked with me from, but,
They were
I
really
know,
good.
they're really good.
Yeah, they were
I've
really
worked with
good.
them through all
I
the,
can be careful, but
they were really
So now.
Yeah, I mean, especially when we did this stuff here, you know,
Yeah.
they were in the parking lot. We went to grab some gravel and fix the trail and drop the big tree on it and get it off.
They really care.
They did a really good job.
Yeah.
I was like.
Great. And trying that.
I know, they're hand taken care of. Well, and so with Heidi, I really need to make sure people keep a high level on it. Because whenever I decide to fine, but I'll tell you, she's been very difficult to work with. So it's,
Oh, yeah?
oh yeah, she didn't get her insurance. I spent so much time trying to work with her. Have a good night.
I think this is her first business.
But it doesn't, she's played me, so I need to be, yes, okay.
I mean, I'd be fine if they.
No,
went away.
I just want to make sure, that you know that when I'm coming to the table, I'm looking at commercial use in general. If down to earth stays, that's fine. I will tell you, it has not been easy. Having her tell children on their website that I'm closing down their school because she has chosen not to manage her business correctly is not fair.
Why don't we
And
wait?
when
till-
she did not, she had known
All of
since
them changing.
July that she needed the insurance requirement, and I had to hand email the paperwork to her. We actually had to call insurance companies for her to not get her insurance to me until towards the end of October. It- And then plays me as in our department, it's really hard to want to partner with her.
Okay.
So but I just want you,
Yeah,
so,
I-
no. Meeting Saturday. I hope you can stay safe. I'm not against this program. It's decided I might be there, but I'm not, so if you ever doing. Because she may be a business owner, but she has skated through and weaseled away in so many ways and set me up in a lot of ways through that meeting last year, the meetings last year. That